I use my medicines that I have been written prescriptions for from my doctor. I use those. I follow the directions explicitly. I don't abuse that either. I don't tell anybody, just use marijuana and this will take care of all your ills. I will never say that to anyone. It's like any other drug in my mind. It's not for everybody.
And mainly for your eyes.
And I only use it for that because I'm in pain right now. But it's not enough for me to. Okay, so, and I'm not going to do it. I don't abuse it. It's not that way for me. Neither is any of the other medicines that I take. And I don't invite people over to my house when I have to take that shot every other day I have to take. I don't have a party with my medicines. And I don't see that I have a party with the medical use. I didn't even want anybody to know that I did it. I truly didn't because it is so bad. I didn't want anybody to know, but I spoke up because it works. It worked for me. I can't say it would do that for everybody. I cannot and I will not. And I don't even suggest everybody just say, well, I got a headache today, I'm going to try. I don't suggest that. That's not what I would ever say to anybody. And I am so against drug abuse. I mean, I stood in places padlocking doors, and I still have that same idea. I have a son, he's grown now. I have grandchildren. I do not approve of drug abuse at all. But drug use, I am for. And whatever it is, if it works, you should be able to have the opportunity to use it without being demonized or looked at as a criminal, because you're not. You're sick. And when you're sick, you'll do anything just to get better. People will do anything, and they shouldn't feel bad, and they do. People shouldn't look down on them, but people do. And it's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. We are people, nobody was born saying, I can't wait to get sick. And I can't wait to nobody does that. Drug addicts don't do that. They didn't want to be a drug addict. It happens. It happens everywhere, all the time. But I do think that the use of positive use, there's nothing wrong with it. And I speak up on it every time.
That's a lot of courage, thank you.
It doesn't take courage, it takes pain. I'm not a criminal.
You are not a criminal. No, you're not.
I don't even have a ticket. I don't do anything.
Right.
And I'm not afraid. But I am an American citizen, and I think I can say anything I want to say and stand up for whatever I believe in. I don't hold to any political party. I don't belong to any group. I call myself a Christian. I am a Christian, and I'm an American citizen. And the last thing I am, I'm a female. And those are the only groups I want to be associated with.
I suffer from multiple sclerosis. I have had it since I was 19 years old. It's been 27 years. And I am the first MS patient in the state of Michigan ever tested with government-issued marijuana. And cannabidiol is exclusively what I've used since 1985 to treat my condition. And of course, the only place in the world cannabidiol is found is in the cannabis plant. And the only way to chemically release it from the cannabis plant, of course, is to heat the plant material. And the most efficient, effective means of administration just happens to be through inhalation. It ain't my fault, it's just the facts.
Right on.
And I got this information from one of 5 research doctors in the world to study the effects of cannabinoids on the human system. He was my expert witness in Washington, D.C., where I fired up a fatty in Representative McCollum's office the day he was introducing anti-medical marijuana legislation. Now, why need there be anti-medical marijuana legislation in place if there's no medicinal value to it?
Good point. What was life like before you found marijuana to help you cope with your pain and suffering?
It was very painful, very confusing, very frustrating, and having multiple sclerosis has been a blessing for me. At least I thought so. I told my mother and my best friend when I was diagnosed at 19 that I was blessed with MS. And I truly feel that way because, hey, nobody knows what it feels like to be me. But isn't everybody that way?
Mm-hmm. We're all unique. So, how does marijuana relieve your pain? What does it do for you?
Okay, it allows me to eat. It allows me to forget about the pain. It allows me to do other things. Because after I smoke, I want to get up and do things.
So the pain is alleviated and allowing you to have
do
that
things.
desire to do things.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not focused on the pain. And it allows me to function in a day-to-day fashion. I have 4 children.
Wow.
One age 7, one age 10, one age 19, and one age 21.
Mm-hmm.
And I raised my first 2, my 19-year-old and my 21-year-old, during all this time that I've been going through all this lovely experience called life. And marijuana has allowed me to raise them as a single mother. It was interesting.
So I'm curious, what are your kids' view of marijuana now? That they've seen how you use it? Do you know?
They believe that it should be used for medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so funny. It was so funny. My girlfriend told me this morning, she said, you know what my son said to me after we left your house? He said, why are all those other people smoking her medicine? And I think that people should view it as a medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And people should use it as a medicine. And people should be friendlier towards it because it's just something different. I went for 5 days without smoking in California. And my body physically threw me on the floor and made it so all I could do was talk. And I don't ever want to go there again, okay? I went for 5 days without smoking, and that's what happened to me. I don't know what else to do or say. Help!
Mm-hmm.
And people are the only people that can. And we're all put in this lovely experience called life together. And it's up to each and every one of us to help each and every other one of us get through this lovely experience called life as best we can. And I'm just doing the best I can.
I'm a medical marijuana patient. I have fibromyalgia. I also have osteoarthritis. I had a compressed sciatic nerve that required back surgery about 4 years ago. I'm also a cancer patient. I've had surgery for cancer 2 years ago. I've been using medical marijuana for about 6 years now. My doctor is aware of it, and he heartily approves. I recently went to him because I have arthritis in my thumbs. The medication he gave me can cause heart attack, stroke, severe bowel and stomach problems. I took these pills for 2 weeks and threw them away. I will continue with my medical marijuana. I'm really concerned that a simple herb can cause me to lose my home, my family, and everything that I've worked for. I'm 62 years old. I've been a productive member of society. I've raised 5 sons. I lost 1 to cancer. To me, it's insane. This is something that was given to us to use. Let us use it. Why are criminals, murderers, and not having their homes forfeited for a simple herb. Something is wrong. The pharmaceutical company has taken over this country. Let us get back to nature where we belong.
What got you interested in medical marijuana?
Well, this is a fight that you don't pick. This fight picks you. My husband Matthew is a Gulf War veteran, and he also has 2 types of multiple sclerosis, which were brought on by the Gulf War syndrome. In 2003, Matthew became paralyzed and unable to function mentally because of all the pharmaceutical drugs that he was on, and they were pushing his disease forward rather than slowing it down. And a neurologist from the Detroit VA Medical Center asked us if he had ever smoked weed. And, we said, well, yeah, he did, but, he didn't anymore. And he said, well, conventional means are no longer an option for you, Matthew. You're in terminal states and we have nothing else we can do for you. You might want to alleviate some of your pain and your so that you can eat by smoking weed. And so we did. In 2004, we were coming home from Detroit after getting Matthew's weed for the month, and I was doing a landscaping job down here, and we were driving home, and I was speeding, and we were in Grand Traverse County, and we got pulled over, and the officers asked us, did we have anything illegal in the car? And we told them, well, it's not illegal to us, but it is to you. At that point, more officers had showed up. We told them where the weed was. They didn't rip the truck apart or nothing. We also showed them medical records to show them that Matthew is a medical patient, and his doctors were well aware of it. And they took us to jail. At that point in time, Matthew decided he was not willing to give up his life again to using pharmaceutical drugs, Oxycontin. He was on like 500 milligrams of Oxycontin a day, in between pain, 1,000 milligram Vicodin, Darvocet, Percocets, whatever they could give him for pain. And he wasn't willing to do that and give up his life. So we decided we would fight. And we met a lady named Melody Carr who came and helped us out and connected us with a lot of people. And by one email at the next court hearing, there were hundreds of people that showed up at the courthouse in defense of Matthew. And they closed the courthouse down. They were overwhelmed with how many people had come to Matthew's hearing, and the judge wouldn't do it. He said no, he was not going to take on that case. They'd have to give it to somebody else because he was not willing to prosecute. So we went in front of a judge named Mike Haley. Matthew worked for the Department of Corrections, so all of the officers knew him, the judges know him, and they watched the progression in Matthew's disease. They watched him go from a man working 2 jobs to a man that could not function and had to resign from his position. He felt it the best thing to do. His eyesight was going bad, and he was seeing double. So it was either be unfair to the clients or be unfair to the Department of Corrections, and he resigned. His bladder, his bowels, his mental capacity all had pretty much come to a halt in his life with all the pharmaceutical drugs. Within 18 months of smoking, Matthew was uncatheterized, undiapered, able to function and walk a little bit, and it was amazing. He went from pretty much death to a living soul again. And in the court system, they did not. They gave him 30 days house arrest with 15 days off for speakings around the state that we had already prepared for. They allowed him to go to any medical appointments, no urine screening, no reporting probation, no nothing, which was a blessing. And then that caused us to run an initiative in the city of Traverse City. We went public with our story, and we invited the community into our home so that they could see, we're not criminals, we're not rabble-rousers, we weren't doing this to tell all the little children at the schools to come follow us, At that time, our community rallied around us, and We formed the Coalition for Compassionate Care, and we ran a successful initiative ballot up in Traverse City. 63% we won by. Out of that 63% that we won by, 50% of that was the AARP. We have a large college in Traverse City, so a lot of the younger kids that are there are not actual residents of the city of Traverse City, and so they're not legal voters. Which was a blessing to us because it just showed our community that we educated our community. We took the time, we were out there with pamphlets and brochures and booklets and whatever we could do, any radio show we could get on, so that we could make our community aware that this is not what people are telling you it is. And by the grace of God, they believed in us, they took our information, they read it, and they took it to heart. And by Matthew being a strong point in the community, they knew him. I was a landscaper for a lot of social climbers, we'll say, in Traverse City, and they took the time to ask me rather than quit using my company. They took the time to ask me and educate themselves and knowledge themselves about what we were doing and why we were doing it. We put ourselves out there publicly on public access in Traverse City, asking any patients who are having problems, if they were interested, please call. At that point in time, we started signing people up. We right now on our books have 257 medical patients in Grand Traverse County alone that all meet criteria. They all of their doctors know, and they're frightened. We all live in fear on a daily basis. This is a scary thing. However, in the city of Traverse City, since our initiative, there's been 3 arrests of medical patients. All 3 medical patients I've been called on. Asked if they were listed, asked to please verify medical documentation. I did, and they were not prosecuted, they were not ticketed, they were let go. Unfortunately, 2 of them did not get their medicine back, 1 of them did. So to us, that's a blessing. Our police force is behind us. They know that, we're not out there selling drugs. None of us are, that's not what it's about. It's about a quality of life, People think that this fight is an act of defiance, and it's overwhelming, and it's not. It's an act of care and compassion and one's quality of life, I only hope and pray that this thing happens. 2008 is a long time, and it's a lot of legal ramifications. Since our 2004 arrest, we've been arrested 2 other times, fought the system in 1, educated them also. And what a blessing for us that they were willing to be educated. We fought both cases without legal representation. I represented my husband and myself. Being able to educate the community, the prosecutors, and giving them good knowledge of what it was. We weren't doing it because we wanted to be defiant to them. We made it perfectly clear every time we were arrested that we were not going to stop doing what we were doing, and if they were going to put him on urine screening or myself, that we were going to test positive, so they may as well lock us up now. As a result, all of the judges that we've dealt with have got themselves some knowledge now. They've never put him on urine screening, no blood testing, no hair follicle testing, none of that. They just simply tell him, pay your fine and thanks for the education. So it's pretty much we're paying them to educate them. We're paying them to educate them. And I guess if that's what it has to be, that's all right. Unfortunately, 2008, like I said, that's a long time. That's a lot of patients with a lot of legal ramifications behind it. Some of them I know people I have represented in cases at Social Security Administration Office, and they've lost their benefits behind it because of felony convictions, going to jail, then you have to fight to get it back and all reinstalled. And, it's a senseless crime. It's a victimless crime, if you will. It needs to stop. I thank God for Tim Beck every day. Because if it wasn't for Mr. Beck, I don't believe that we would be where we are today. And it's a blessing, It's a blessing.
Thanks. So, I know this is hard, but before Matt found medical marijuana to help his condition, he was basically passing time with you.
Yeah. They had given him a short period of time to live. He's exceeded that limit by the grace of God. We haven't been in the hospital for a while. We had 3 years hospital free. which is a blessing because for the 3 years prior to that, we were in the hospital. 265 days, 2 years in a row. We were home for 14 days.
I was a freelance smoker, I guess, of marijuana. Was busted a few times in the 90s. Drove me to quit, and I was soon diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And upon that time, another doctor from the VA medical center mentioned to me that none of the other medications were working for me, and that my best bet would be to try cannabis. I no longer wear a diaper. I walk. Exercise quite a bit. I've always had a good appetite. I was able to see again well.
So before you found medical marijuana, what was a day in your life like?
I'll get woke up in the middle of the night, lose loss of my bowels control and bladder control, and not being able to see, and in a wheelchair a good amount of the time. Very lethargic around the house. Lost my job, all three of them, and took everything I had life, took everything that I lived for.
Because I don't know if you remember, the first time I met you was up at your place.
I think so.
And I didn't even know at that time that you were the Matt Barber that I'd been reading about, because you'd answered the door, you were talking, you walked up the stairs, you played with your new puppy Luke, and it's like, wait a minute, this is Matt? And that change is all because of marijuana.
All because of cannabis.
But you seem like a perfectly normal person, you're functioning, we're talking right now. I mean, when I met you, I had no idea that you were on cannabis. You seemed like a normal person. You weren't going to kill me. Your eyes weren't bugging out. So, all of that is just false?
I don't know if it's false or anything like that. All I know is when you use a medicine the way that it's prescribed or the way that it should be prescribed, things happen the way that they're supposed to happen.
I guess first of all, I would like to say disease can strike anybody at any time. Cancer has been shown to, there's a 25% chance that no matter what your status or class or ethnicity, there's a 25% chance anyone could get cancer. This is a congenital birth disease. I've had it since birth. I wasn't totally convinced because of the propaganda and lies that have been told throughout the years about concerning marijuana, which is properly termed cannabis. I would like to say that once somebody wholeheartedly accepts the scientific research and open-mindedly looks into this issue, there's no doubt that they will not reach the conclusion that cannabis is therapeutic. It's made all the difference. I mean, my pain is so bad I've been suicidal. I didn't want to live. I just didn't want to keep living. And so what? Now I could, if there was periods in my life, if I wouldn't have had this purpose in life of being involved in the medical marijuana movement, I was really close to trying to take my life just to get rid of this pain. Well, what cannabis did was it helped me re-evaluate my perception of pain, and now I can't. And now that through that reevaluation of my perception of what pain was, and more, it's like dealing with the suffering as opposed to now that I'm on pharmaceutical medicines, I'm just deadening it and I'm like covering it up, and it kind of puts you in a cloudy haze, whereas there's more clarity involved when you're using cannabis, and this is from my past experiences. Now I'm really, now that I'm relying on pharmaceuticals, I'm really just emotional, and I can tell my body knows the toxic effects, and when I'm using cannabis in my foods, my mood level, my pain is all not deadened. However, it is it's I guess, excuse me for stumbling, I'm able to look at it from a different perspective, and that has made all the difference. And so I really believe that we need to continue standing up for the sick and dying patients, and not only here in the state of Michigan, but all throughout the United States and the world, because they're a vulnerable segment of society, and our health, the health of our nation, depends directly on how we deal with the most vulnerable.
Firm advocate of the war on drugs, saying no to all dope. That was me. I was in groups padlocking buildings that were, exploiting drugs. That was who I was. I have multiple sclerosis. And one of the problems that I have is optic neuritis, and it's the optic nerve in my eyes that swell up and hurt. And it's like they're going to explode inside my head. That's a lot of pain. And people were telling me about, well, they use marijuana for different types of eye problems. And I was like, I'm not smoking any dope. I don't care, One day my eyes were hurting really bad, and I had company, and they were trying to get me to understand, to at least try it. If I didn't like it, I never had to do it again. Well, of course, I wasn't going to tell anybody. I was too much of an advocate of saying no, that I would never tell anybody that I was going to do this. But I did have to study about it, and I looked it up for myself. And I did try it the next time I tried it. And I was shocked. I was truly shocked. It worked. I didn't have to get high. It wasn't necessary for me to get high. It immediately after the choking, I thought that was horrible. But after the choking, 2 puffs later, the pain was gone. And that nerve was relaxed enough for me to say, okay, this works. And I was afraid to admit it, and I never told anybody. And the only way it came out for me to talk about it was in a class down at Wayne County Community College. And they were talking about during the time that it was on the ballot for Detroit. And the students in the class, they were talking about it, and they were just demonizing it so much, and it was just a bad thing. And some people who had used drugs were told, oh no, this is a gateway, is what they were telling me and saying about it. And I'm just sitting in class saying, I can't say anything because I know that's not true. But it just got so bad that I just spoke up in the class. And I wasn't rude or loud or boisterous. I wasn't any of that. I just talked about the people using it for a medical purpose. And they're not trying to be drug addicts. They don't want to even be seen as a drug addict. And that's how I started talking. And then eventually I told them, because that's me. I use it. I don't sit in my house and get high every day. I don't smoke weed every day. Only when I have a problem with the optic neuritis will I do it. And it's not all the time. I'm blessed. It's not all the time. But I do have it, and I will smoke marijuana, and it does work. And I shouldn't feel bad. I shouldn't feel like a criminal, because I don't have tickets, let alone anything else. So I don't want to be seen as a criminal, because I'm not a criminal. And no person who's sick should feel like that. They shouldn't feel afraid, and they shouldn't feel like they can't, and they should be able to speak up. This is still America, and you can talk about anything you want to talk about, and nobody has to agree with you, but they don't have the right to stop you, and that's what they're doing. And I don't agree with that at all. I don't tell anybody that if you make it legal for people to use it medically, that it's going to stop abuse or it's going to enhance abuse. The drug laws that we have now haven't stopped it. So I'm not saying change the drug laws, I'm just saying amend it. Allow people who need it and find a positive use for it to be able to use it. It's a silver lining in every cloud. I was raised that way, to believe that it's a possibility with everything, and everything is good. But when it came to this, nobody wanted to see good, they just wanted to see bad, and that's just not true. It's a silver lining in every cloud. Even in the smoke, it's a silver lining.